Biden's initiative, the Advanced Electric Grid. Hi, I'm Michael Killen, and my guest today is Dr. Alex Cannara. He's an old friend of mine, but probably more important, he is an expert on energy systems, including the grid and including nuclear energy. Alex, how are you today?
Hi, Michael. Good to see you.
Do I have to call you Dr. Cannara, or will Alex do?
That'll do fine.
Alex, first of all, I believe the grid has two components. One is the distribution network, and the other is the generation of electricity. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
All right. Would you tell us what the status is of the electric grid in the United States? In other words, why does President Biden want to invest billions or hundreds and hundreds of millions to improve the grid? What's wrong with it?
Actually, there's not really so much wrong with the distribution system, the transmission lines and so forth. What's wrong is that we haven't really thought of how to guarantee generation of clean energy and distribution of that electricity around the country without depending upon external sources, like we depend upon Quebec Hydro and we depend upon other external sources state by state as well. So we have organizations that cover generation and distribution of electricity in the West, like WECC, and in the East, Maryland and New Jersey, PJM. And the problem isn't that we don't have enough generation or distribution. We just simply actually don't have enough management of the pricing and sourcing of the energy, the clean energy in particular, that we need for the future.
All right, now you got into a lot of detail, which is good, but would I be correct? There are brownouts in the nation. The grid in Texas is a mess, and that's their political leaders and their attitude toward being partners with the United States. And we're bringing on board in a few years maybe millions of electric cars, and they're just going to suck up a tremendous capacity of the electric grid. So would you agree that Biden's goal to invest millions of billions in the electric grid has something to do with the growing need for more electricity?
Yeah, it certainly does. I mean, we have EVs, as you mentioned, will add a considerable amount of demand on local electrical supplies. And that's something that we've known for a while, and we're promoting it, particularly here in California, but we haven't really provided the long-term thinking and design work to make sure that we can handle that sort of thing. We're also going to be having increased demand for air conditioning loads as the climate warms. Whether you believe in global warming or not, we need more air conditioning. We've had problems with brownouts in California during hot periods, and we foresee that elsewhere as well.
And what about the shortfall in water in the reservoirs in now many parts of the country? What is the impact of less water on electricity?
Electricity generation typically needs water for cooling the turbine generator systems that we run, whether they're nuclear or gas powered. We need that water. And of course, people need water to drink, and agriculture needs water to grow their products. I think in California, it takes about a gallon of water to make an almond. So you can give you an idea.
Yeah.
So we in the West, in particular, will have a problem. Already have a problem with droughts. So we would need energy to do desalination of water for the communities along the coast, Pacific coast, for instance.
Good.
And that's a serious amount of energy that's required then, similar
Yes.
to what EVs will demand.
All right, you sort of brought up, well, you brought up the West and some of the issues. And in California, it seems we have a major energy crisis. I think just a few days ago, Governor Gavin Newsom issued an emergency energy proclamation. And I would like you to say something about that emergency. And then after that question, I'm going to ask you, if you were running the show, if you were in the legislature of the state of California, what steps would you take in this area of this time of an emergency energy? All right, Alex, tell us
Well,
more.
first I'd roll out the time machine and take us back to 2011, when our California Science and Technology Commission told us what to do. They said, well, you're not going to be able to run the whole state on wind and solar. You're going to have to do something more if you want clean energy. And they recommended 1/3 nuclear, 1/3 renewables, and the rest hydro and other reliable clean sources. So we have now a situation that we've known was going to happen. In fact, one of our nuclear plants already rescued the southern cities, LA and San Diego, in 2015 by running and generating power even when it was supposed to be refueling, and that was an order from the ISO in California to do that. It's very good that you can do that with a nuclear plant, but we haven't really followed the science as we know we should do with COVID. We haven't really followed the science with energy generation in California, and as we mentioned before, water desalination is going to be an extremely important and power hungry load on the energy system.
Okay, Alex, you are a big, major leader in the legislature, and you have Governor Newsom's ear. What are concrete steps the state of California should take right now? Not 20 years ago, Alex, right now.
Right now. Yes, definitely. We should try to catch up with our clean energy production. Currently, our one nuclear plant, Diablo Canyon, is the largest single source of clean energy in the state, in the largest state in the union, and it's the largest source of zero emission energy. But it doesn't get credit for it. Nobody pays nuclear plants because they're clean, except a couple of states are starting to do that. The site in the picture that's there on this, there's 2 reactors already, been there since 1986. And the site is big enough, it was intended to have 6 reactors. So if you look to the right, there's open space there for 4 more. So if we were to actually do that, build those out, whether they're traditional or small modular reactors, we would eliminate the burden of shortfall that Newsom has declared the emergency.
I want to interrupt. I want to come back to this point of expanding Diablo. You're in charge now, Alex. Would you prohibit anyone, any organization, from shutting down Diablo Canyon right now?
Oh, sure. I would do whatever is necessary to make sure that the plant stays operating for the next 100 years. I mean, there's nothing inside a nuclear plant that can't be replaced or repaired. And that's what NRC is for, is to make sure that the plants run as long as possible, generating clean energy safely and reliably.
Now, this is an exaggeration. If PG&E or some other organization tried to shut it down, would you send the National Guard to make sure they don't do that? Would you do that?
I don't know what would be the exact right response if I were governor, but I'm sure there are responses because PG&E sees no value in plants that have been running for long enough to pay back their capital investment.
Yes.
California regulatory processes for power are very interesting because you get to increase the customers' rates that they pay for electricity in California by investing in something, by buying something, by building a plant or by buying a transformer for a substation. You can write that off and request that that capital get recovered in the rates. So when something is all paid off, as Diablo Canyon is, and producing electricity cheaply, it's not really an advantage for the company that owns it because there's no more capital cost recovery, as we call it, that can be used to increase a rate. So they have to build something new.
They have to build, and they'd like to build gas plants?
Well, I think that there's a state of emergency, I guess, would let them do that now because that would violate our CEQA, our Environmental Quality Act in California. But at any rate, there's a very complex set of rules and systems in operation in California. And there are a lot of levers to pull. And if we're really concerned with air quality and environmental quality, then we would try as hard as hell to keep a plant open.
Earlier, you mentioned, I guess, the state or the regulators or whatever, I guess demanded, it had to be Diablo Canyon, that it continue to produce electricity because the state, Los Angeles or whatever, definitely needed energy. And so it kept this against the state, the operators' desires. They kept the nuclear power plant running. Maybe you could clean that one up for me.
Sure. In 2015, we had a heat wave in Southern California, LA and San Diego area. And the Diablo Canyon plant is up the coast, 100 miles or so north of that. And the independent system operator, CalISO, ordered the owner of the plant, PG&E, to keep the plant running even though it was scheduled to have one of the reactors shut down for refueling. So they did. They kept the plant running for as long as necessary to produce an extra electricity to support the air conditioning load increases in Southern California. And you can do that with a nuclear plant because a nuclear plant is storage. It's nuclear fusion storage in atoms that we can split. So there's always some atoms left to split in the fuel, even though it's time to refuel. It's not like the gas tank goes completely empty. So we ran, I forget how long they ran, but at least a couple of weeks to keep the air conditioners running in LA and San Diego.
Before I interrupted you a little while ago, you mentioned that the Diablo Canyon operation had a plan for 4 more reactors. Is that correct?
Yes, the site is set up to handle 4 more. They only built 2 in 1986.
And if we did build 4 more reactors, would that meet the requirements for energy, for electricity of the state for several years, or what must we do something else?
Well, Governor Newsom has said that we're 4 to 5 gigawatts short of power. Well, a gigawatt is enough to run 1 million homes. Diablo Canyon is 2 gigawatts, over 2 gigawatts, so 2 million homes. So adding 4 more would cover about 4 million homes load, and that would come close to meeting the shortfall just in one location, one plant, meeting the shortfall that the governor has declared an emergency because of. And then, of course, there's another plant south in San Diego, San Onofre, which is called Songs, which also has 2 reactors. That has been shut for no particularly good reason for a few years. And if that plant were repaired and opened, that would exceed the shortfall that Governor Newsom has declared. So we have the means in California, we've had them for years, to actually meet the state's needs for clean energy. And we just haven't done it. What else can we say?
Lots of people are concerned with the safety of nuclear power plants. The San Onofre, and I have problems pronouncing that word. What was the major cause of shutting that one down, and tell me the magnitude of the safety issue?
Well, the shutdown had nothing to do with the nuclear side of the plant. It had to do with the steam generation, which is what turns the turbines, that turns the generator. And the 2 steam generators that were replaced with newer ones, turned out that the new ones were defectively designed because of a software error in the simulation systems that were used by Mitsubishi Electric to build the steam generators. And then you get into the business of business. That is, the holding company that owns the Southern California Edison, owns the owner of the plant. We don't know exactly what happened there. There was Attorney General started an investigation when the plant was shut that way to find out what was going on. But then she was appointed Senator, Kamala Harris, and the investigation stopped. So again, if I were governor, I would restart the investigation and figure out what was going on with the holding companies involved in this. This is related to something that in the 1930s was a law that was created called the PUHCA to protect companies from their holding companies extracting funds from them without benefit to the customers of the company. So that law was repealed, and so we have this problem that we have to figure out what was really going on, what financial incentives were sought to from closing the plant when it was perfectly capable of operating. And Mitsubishi even offered to repair and replace the defective steam generators. So that gives us another 2 million homes worth of power if we were to fix that.
Mitsubishi has already agreed to replace the steam engine or the software?
Well, the software is what they use to design the defective steam generators, and they were willing to do replacements. I don't know what the financial arrangement would have been, but they were willing to do replacements of the defective parts. Now, you can say, why would somebody running a complicated big thing like a steam plant accept and install two defective products? You don't know they're defective initially, but you're installing them both at once, and that's your whole plant. So why are you risking installing 2 steam generators when you can install one and see if it works, and then not install the second one if the first one doesn't work? I mean, the whole thing is very suspicious. So anyway, that needs to be investigated completely, and it hasn't.
All right, we've been discussing some background information that helps us understand a bit why President Biden has an initiative to create an advanced electric grid, not just in California, but statewide. And I want to note that Governor Newsom has endorsed President Biden's infrastructure plan. And what that means to the state, I mean, every state should endorse it because it means funds pouring into the state. It means jobs. But you brought up nuclear energy, I think, a few times. And I would like you to tell us how the United States stands in terms of clean nuclear safe energy. How does it stand compared to the Russians?
Compared to the Russians or the Chinese, we're not doing very well because we're losing plants to shutdowns that aren't necessary at all, such as Indian Point in New York, that the Governor Cuomo had always wanted to shut down for some reason, because he didn't understand it, perhaps. He referred to it as a ticking time bomb several years ago, which would, since it never became a bomb, I'm wondering how slow the ticker was that he was worried about. But at any rate, we need to take nuclear power much more seriously because that's the only way we're going to be able to catch up with global warming.
Now, you mentioned Russia.
Yeah.
I believe you have a document that says Russia, in terms of nuclear energy, clean nuclear energy, is 30 years ahead of the United States.
Well, their advanced reactor designs are good, and they have many installed already, and they're selling to the other countries in the world. China is actually even more aggressive now in selling new nuclear to the rest of the world, and they've already domestically in China they've already flattened their emissions per capita curve, largely because of their nuclear installations, new nuclear installations. So they intend clearly, they've said it publicly, that they intend to dominate world nuclear power. So it's time for the U.S. DOE and Congress to wake up. And,
okay.
What about stop pussyfooting around with clean energy from nuclear? Because it is, even the World Bank has said the only way we're going to meet the threat of climate change and global warming and ocean acidification and all those threats is through nuclear reactor.
And you also mentioned water, desalination plants. We have to use the nuclear for those types of.
Well, for the amount of power that you need to do desalination or EVs, charging EV batteries and so forth, nuclear power is the way to do it. It runs 24/7. It's up 90% of the time. It has the best safety record of any source of energy in the world, and so let's not be silly. Let's not do what we did with COVID, where we have a bunch of people who aren't going to get vaccinated because, I don't know, they think something about vaccination is dangerous.
So you mentioned or agreed that the Russians are about 30 years ahead of us in terms of using nuclear. I think I saw a document that you gave me from the president of the California Nuclear Association.
I wouldn't be an expert on that particular question, but if the document did say something like that. Yeah.
And then you did say the Chinese are out to be the world leader in use of selling and using nuclear energy. And we have no plans for playing in that game, from what I could see.
Yeah, we unfortunately get wound up in these political things where again, we don't follow the science, which leads us down a path which can be very embarrassingly troublesome, like our current, our providing a way in which another genetically a genetic mutation for the COVID virus can succeed, and we've done that. We've created, we've allowed another version of COVID to be created. So we allow the combustion industry to dominate our power systems, including by investing in renewables. If you look at the latest ads from Chevron or earlier from BP, they invest in wind and solar in order to get subsidies. And then they know that the wind and solar is going to need backup from their gas in the future. So they're placing a bet that's a very simple one. They know exactly how to make some money off the fact that we subsidized the wrong sources of energy. And so that's part of the problem within the United States. We don't provide recognition to energy sources for their cleanliness. We don't pay nuclear plants a subsidy for their clean energy. We subsidize wind and solar, but then those things only work part of a day. So we need to burn gas or something else to make up for the fact that they're not working. So we don't charge the wind and solar for the gas that's being burned, in California in particular, to make up for the fact the sun goes down every day. I mean, that happens every day in California. Every day the gas plants fire up as soon as the sun goes down. And we don't even we don't ding the gas plants for their emissions, and we don't ding the solar installers for depending upon the gas plants. In fact, we pay them even if they can't, even if we can't use their electricity, we pay them. It's a fee for what we call curtailment. When we tell a solar plant, no, we don't need your juice today at noon, but we'll pay you for not taking your juice. This is the kind of thing that goes on all the time, every day. So people need to understand this, and the governments need to straighten this stuff out.
So Alex, quickly, in California, there is a Republican congressman who is pushing for nuclear energy, and he is very close to the former President Donald Trump. Can you just give me his name? We're running out of time now.
Oh, the only person I know that's doing that is Tanaka.
No, Devin, you know him from
France. Oh, Devin Nunes. Yes. Sorry.
All right. I just want to say this. You, I believe, and I am doing a show on President Biden's initiative because we believe his initiative is important to the people of this country. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I'm Michael Killen. Thank you, Alex.
You're welcome.
Thank you for letting us into your offices and homes.
Okay.